I need y'all to see the discrimination. Those of you who hold conservative perceptions, European perceptions. I did a video about dreadlocks during a job interview. How there are no-go. They made in the law that dreadlocks are a no-go. I need you to also keep in mind where this Jim Crow bill is in the same state of Missouri, where they would have had, I think it was a few months ago, where they would have had their first black and first black female mayor. But in their reason for not electing her was because she was just not qualified. The people didn't see her as qualified. This story here, NAACP issues its first statewide travel advisory for Missouri. This is coming from CNN.com. The NAACP is sending a strong message to people of color traveling through Missouri. Go at your own risk. The organization is circulating a travel advisory after the state passed a law that Missouri's NAACP conference says allows for legal discrimination. The warning cites several discriminatory incidents in Missouri, including as examples of looming danger in the state. The NAACP says it's the first travel advisory ever issued by the organization at the state or national level. The Missouri Conference initially published the advisory in June, and it was recognized nationally at the NAACP's annual convention last week. Individuals traveling in the state are advised to travel with extreme caution, the advisory warns. Race, gender, and color-based crimes have a long history in Missouri. Ferguson, Missouri. Ring any bells? And you have to keep in mind that that was also the place where Mike Brown died by a white officer, Darren Wilson. So see how all of this stuff keeps adding up, and this is what we call systemic racism. All of these conservative-minded, Coon Tom, Sambo sellouts, they side with these white people because it's the way that seems right. I understand that, but you cannot close your eyes to the blatant covert truth. It's not conspiracy. First, they pass a law saying that you can't have dreadlocks in the interview. How many white people actually wear dreadlocks who would actually work for a company that would say that you can't wear dreadlocks at an interview? Not one. Not one white person will complain about that. Only black people wear dreadlocks on jobs of that caliber. Then you have a mayor just so happens to not be elected in the same state. You have a boy on his way to college, shot, killed by a white officer. Now you have the Jim Crow bill. Moving on. The advisory was issued after Senate Bill 43, which makes it more difficult for employees to prove their protected class like race or gender directly led to unlawful discrimination, passed through the Missouri legislature in June. Missouri Governor Eric Greitens signed it into law soon after. Greitens and other supporters of the bill have said it puts Missouri standards for lawsuits in line with other states. But that's not how the NAACP sees it. The Missouri NAACP State Conference called the legislation a Jim Crow bill. This does not follow the morals of Missouri, Conference President Rod Chappell Jr. told CNN. I hate to see Missouri get dragged down deep past the notion of treating people with dignity. There have been other instances of discrimination in the state that could have elicited an advisory before this, several of which are listed in the warning. Among them are racist incidents reported at the University of Missouri that prompted protests across campus in 2015, as well as the state attorney general annual report that found black drivers were stopped by police at a rate of 75% higher than white drivers. Also, after that Mike Brown incident, there was an article published in the in our newspaper here in Shreveport about the crime rate. Every single statistic that had to do with involving police and civilian, and based on those statistics, which white people love to use, throughout the entire state of Missouri, not just Ferguson, throughout the entire state of Missouri, black civilians were treated far more worse than white civilians or any other nationality of civilian. I find that information I'll put in the description box. Chappell said he met with Greitens about the Senate bill several times. After the bill passed, he said they had a fair and frank discussion about the legislation, about what the legislation would do. At a later meeting, Chappell said he brought several faith leaders in the community to talk with the governor about theology and morality. I'm going to stop right there. I always say that white people by nature are destroyers. I always say that. White people by nature are destroyers. Everything that they put their hands on, they destroy. Everything that they create, it does not sustain life. It prolongs it and eventually destroys it. Everything that they touch, they destroy. They have no good within them. None of them do. This is why they have to push cultural appropriation, because they have no culture of their own that makes them moral people. So they grasp and leech off of other cultures in order to make themselves feel like they belong. They have to make themselves feel human. They have to make themselves feel humane, not actually be humane. Why did this guy have to bring in faith leaders in order to sway the governor? Ultimately, none of that worked, Chappell said. The governor's office did not comment on the advisory, but acknowledged that Greitens met with passionate advocates on both sides of the bill. And as Mother Marimba Ani tells us in the book Urugu, the European culture is exactly what they thrive in here in America. Politics. Their mindset is politics. Everything about them revolves around politics. This is why they have to set these different boxes, set these different standards of political correctness to know who is who and who is on their side. Moving on. The Missouri Division of Tourism has not responded to multiple requests for comment. The advisory doesn't tell people to not go to Missouri. Rather, the NAACP wants minority travelers to be aware of what it says are potential risks. People should tell their relatives if they have to travel through the state. They need to be aware, Chappell said. They should have bail money. You never know. In the advisory, the NAACP urges individuals to warn your families, co-workers, and anyone visiting Missouri to be aware of the safety concerns with travel in Missouri. These concerns, the organization writes, could include unnecessary search and seizures and potential arrests. And you also have to see the martial law that's going on. I mean, it's been going on for the longest. Martial law has been implemented, but right now, in my opinion, it seems as though they're ready to go full throttle with this thing. Traditionally, travel advisories are released ahead of severe weather and political disruptions. The State Department publishes international travel warnings and alerts for countries with ongoing violence, frequent terrorist attacks, or increased health risks, to name a few. And I also have to bring up the fact that there are still sundown towns, and if you don't know what sundown towns are, I have a video on that in my How White Folks Got So Rich series, playlist or whatever. You can find that. Go to my playlist tab on my channel. Excuse me. But if you don't know what sundown towns are places where it is predominantly white, and for black people, they cannot be in those towns after the sun goes down. Not necessarily just black people, Chinese people, Jewish people, anybody who is not under the perception of political correctness, a white person, a Caucasian, those who actually stole this land from the natives. The ACLU issued travel advisories similar to the NAACP's in the past, one for Arizona in 2010 and one in Texas earlier this year. Both advisories were circulated after state laws passed allowing law enforcement officers to question a person's immigration status. And I was going to wait to the end of the video to talk about this whole immigrant thing. And I just finished the video or whatever. I haven't uploaded it just yet, and I have to do some editing to it. But in case you don't know, there has been a bill passed. It's called the RAISE Act, and what this does, the purpose of this RAISE Act, which Trump passed or whatever, is on the books. It's legislative law. What it indicates is, before an immigrant could come to America, they have to know English. English has to be a primary language learned before entering this country. And what I wanted to say about that law, or that act that was passed, is if you can see the discrimination in laws, acts, and things like that concerning people who don't live in this country, if you can see the discrimination on this country towards them in under that microscope, or from that point of view, why can't you see the discrimination geared towards blacks in this country under the exact same perceptual lens? Okay, what will it take for the advisory to be lifted? After SB 43, Senate Bill 43, passed through the legislature, the initial travel advisory was supposed to last until August 28, when the bill would potentially go into effect. That changed when Gritton signed it into law. We see this travel advisory remaining in effect for the foreseeable future, Chappell said. He wants to see several changes in the state before the advisory is lifted, starting with the repeal of the law that prompted the advisory in the first place, which will never happen. Chappell also said there should be a plan in place on how the state is going to address people of color being stopped by police at a disproportionate rate. He also wants to see a change in how Missouri prosecutors handle hate crimes. And that is going to be next to impossible, because everything that was considered a hate crime, they are making those things legal. Stop and frisk. Same thing with pulling people over. That's still the same as stop and frisk. Making these laws like this Jim Crow bill, where black people mostly are not able to prove that their company or the person working for their company is discriminating against them. But I promise you, because it says race and gender, I promise you, if it was a white woman to take this to court, she would win it, because of feministic perceptualization. This country will have more respect for feminists, you see what I'm saying, their ideology and what they consider to be discrimination before us, because we have been complaining too long, and not really taking any action. We need to have some basic ground rules for how human beings treat each other, Chappell said. And that's the end of the article. So I'm going to leave the article down in the description box. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'm pretty sure this is going to be dropping like hotcakes. Shout out to King Noble for even posting this to Twitter. I wouldn't have knew anything about it. I really don't watch TV. I really don't like to watch the news. I just keep up with news articles as they're either sent to me or as I see them on news feeds. If you're new to the channel, check out the content. Everybody else, like, share, subscribe. Like I said, let me know what y'all think about this bullshit down in the comment section. The next video I'm gonna be posting is gonna be about the RAISE Act, based on the interview I saw concerning Democracy Now. So yeah, I see y'all in the next video. Peace.